Ethan, we're done. Sarah Jenkins stood on the roof of the science building, her eyes brimming with a rehearsed kind of disappointment. I just smiled. In this life, I wasn't going to beg. In my previous life, I had literally dropped to my knees, pleading for another chance. That was never happening again. I was 40 when I died. I'd been lying alone in a cramped, depressing studio apartment for 3 days before anyone noticed. The landlord only found me because the rent was late and the smell had started to drift into the hallway. My last thoughts were filled with a bitter, soul-crushing regret. If I ever got a do-over, I would never, ever be someone's doormat again. When I opened my eyes, I was back in a familiar classroom. The whiteboard had a countdown in the corner, 100 days until finals. I was 18 again. Ethan, meet me on the roof after class. We need to talk. Sarah had whispered that as she passed my desk earlier, her voice as cold as a Midwest winter. I knew exactly what was coming. In my first life, this was the day she dumped me. Her reason was simple. My grades were trash, and I wasn't in the same league as the girl voted most likely to succeed and prom queen in the same year. Back then, I cried like a damn fool. I'd actually grabbed her hand, sobbing, making a scene that still made me nauseous to remember. Sure, I replied casually. Sarah blinked, momentarily stunned by my lack of reaction. As she turned to walk away, I caught the slight furrow in her brow. Yo, Ethan, what did Sarah want? My deskmate, Tyler Davis, leaned in, his face full of gossip. To break up, I said, flipping through my textbook. Tyler's eyes nearly popped out of his head. What? You guys are splitting? Yeah, it was overdue anyway. I picked up a pen and started tackling a calculus problem. In my past life, my GPA had tanked because I spent every waking hour orbiting Sarah, buying her lattes, carrying her bags, driving her everywhere. I'd sacrificed my future for a girl who didn't even respect me. Not this time. When the bell rang, I took my time heading to the roof. Sarah was already there, framed by the setting sun. She looked incredible, the kind of girl who stopped traffic. My younger self had been absolutely obsessed with that face. Ethan, we need to break up, she said, cutting straight to the chase. There wasn't a hint of hesitation in her voice. Okay, I nodded. Sarah froze. She had a whole speech prepared. All the reasons why we didn't work, why she needed space to focus on her Ivy League applications. Now, it was all stuck in her throat. You're not going to ask why. Nope. I pulled out my phone. Should I just unfriend you? Or do you want me to block you too? Sarah's face flushed. Ethan, what is wrong with you? Nothing. I just think you're right. We're a good match. I tapped the screen, deleting her from my contacts and social media right then and there. Ethan, she called out as I turned to leave. I looked back. My expression as flat as a calm lake. Something else. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. I walked away without a second glance. Behind me, I heard her whisper, "You've changed." Yeah, I had. I wasn't the idiot who would throw away his life for her anymore. Back in the classroom, Tyler was waiting. So, is it official? Yep. Holy crap, man. How are you so chill? That's Sarah Jenkins. I'm not just chill, Tyler. I am relieved. I meant it. With the weight of Sarah off my shoulders, I could finally focus. During study hall, I felt Sarah's eyes on me several times, but I didn't look up. I was grinding through practice SATs. In my old life, I barely cleared a basic state school score. I needed to do better. I wasn't a genius, and reincarnation didn't give me a higher IQ, but it gave me a work ethic fueled by 40 years of failure. Ethan, Sarah walked up to my desk as the final bell rang. Need something? I didn't even look up from my notebook. You're being weird today. How so? You aren't. Yourself. I finally put my pen down and looked at her. I used to be a fool, Sarah. I'm just not a fool anymore. She bit her lip. Are you just trying to make me mad? Not at all. Why would I waste the energy being mad? Then why are you? Why am I not following you around like a lost puppy? I finished for her. Sarah, you're the one who wanted to break up. What exactly do you want from me right now? She was speechless. She'd been the one to pull the trigger, but seeing me actually not care was clearly bruising her ego. I thought. You thought I'd beg? That I'd be on the floor crying. My voice turned cold. I still remembered the humiliation of my first life. Go focus on your applications, Sarah. Stop bothering me. I went back to my work. She stood there for a long time before finally walking away. Tyler gave me a silent thumbs up. Dude, savage. You actually rattled her. Whatever. Let's just study. Over the next few weeks, I bury myself in books. I was up at 5 a.m. for vocab and stayed up until midnight doing physics and chem. It was a slow crawl, but I could feel the rust falling off my brain. Every time Sarah tried to approach me, I shut it down with a too busy studying or gotta go. Slowly, the way she looked at me changed. It went from confusion to frustration, then to something I couldn't quite name. Ethan, your latest practice scores are incredible, my math teacher said, handing back my test with a look of pure shock. I'd scored a near perfect. Keep this up, and you're looking at top-tier schools. The praise was a massive shot of adrenaline. In my first life, I thought I was just born stupid. It turns out I just never tried. Man, congrats. Tyler slapped my shoulder. I smiled, my gaze accidentally drifting towards Sarah. She was staring at my test paper, her expression unreadable. I looked away immediately. Her feelings weren't my problem anymore. I had a life to build. Ethan, can we talk? Seriously. The roof again. 2 weeks after the breakup. She tried to catch me a dozen times, and I'd blown her off, but today she'd blocked the doorway to the classroom. About what? I asked. Sarah bit her lip. You've changed so much lately. So, I've heard. You used to talk to me every day. Now you act like I don't exist. I actually laughed. Sarah, did you forget? We broke up. That was the whole point. I know, but what? You want me to keep orbiting you while you look for someone better? Sarah's face went red. That's not what I meant. Then what is it? She was silent for a long time. I just feel like I don't even know who you are anymore. People change, I said. Just like you decided you didn't like me anymore. She started to say something, then stopped. I turned to go. Ethan, she called out. Are you really not even a little sad? I looked back at her. Why would I be? We were together for 6 months. Don't you miss us? No, that was a lie. In my first life, the breakup destroyed me for a year. But I'd already lived through that pain. I wasn't going to volunteer for a second round. Sarah's eyes welled up. You're lying. Why would I lie to you? I don't have anything to gain. Because you loved me. Everyone knew it. I smiled sadly. That was a different guy, Sarah. The guy's gone. The words hit her like a physical blow. She actually started to cry. Why? No reason. I'm just done. I walked away, leaving the sound of her sobbing behind me. My heart twinged for a second, but I kept moving. I'd been too soft in my past life. That's why she was able to play me. Not again. Back in class, the rumors were already flying. I heard Sarah's crying on the roof. Did Ethan do something? No way. Ethan used to worship her. Well, guys change their minds fast, I guess. I ignored them and kept working on my physics problems. Tyler leaned over. Dude, you actually made the Ice Queen cry? Respect. I didn't answer. The principal walked in then. Listen up, everyone, he said, clearing his throat. We have a new student joining us starting Monday. I expect you all to make him feel welcome. A transfer student? I frowned. I didn't remember a transfer student during my senior year. Had my return changed things that much? Is it a guy or a girl? Someone asked. A young man named Julian Sterling. He's transferring in from a private academy in New York City. Julian Sterling. The name hit me like a ton of bricks. I knew exactly who he was. In my past life, Sarah started dating Julian almost immediately after she dumped me. He was the classic gold fund kid. His family owned a massive tech firm in NYC. Eventually, Sarah moved to the city with him and was never heard from again in our small town. In this life, he was showing up early. I heard this Julian guy is loaded, someone whispered, and apparently, he's a genius. I stayed calm. Julian's arrival was actually good news. It meant Sarah would have a new target to focus on, and she'd finally leave me alone. During gym class that afternoon, I was doing laps on the track. Sarah was sitting in the bleachers, her eyes following me the whole time. I ignored her and kept my pace. Ethan, she ran down from the stands and cut me off. What now? I stopped, breathing hard. I've been thinking, Sarah said, her eyes intense. Let's try again. Let's start over. I blinked. In my first life, Sarah never once suggested getting back together. My indifference was clearly changing the script. Why? I asked. Because I realized I miss you, she said, her voice trembling slightly. The last few weeks have been miserable without you around. Really? I said flatly. Because I've been having a great time. Sarah turned pale. You really won't give us another chance? No. She bit her lip, her eyes flashing with a mix of hurt and stubbornness. Why? You were obsessed with me. That was then. This is now, I said. Sarah, you should focus on your SATs, not your dating life. My grades are fine. Good. Keep them that way. I sidestepped her and resumed my run. I knew what she was feeling. She couldn't wrap her head around why the boy who had worshipped her was now acting like she was a telemarketer. In my past life, I had loved her to the point of self-destruction. It was a pathetic one-sided devotion. This time, if I couldn't have an equal partnership, I'd rather have nothing at all. After school, I was packing my bag. Ethan, there she was again. Still here, Sarah? Julian Sterling starts tomorrow, she said suddenly. I paused. And is there really no hope for us? I looked up at her. Sarah, what is there to talk about? You made your choice. We were together for months. Doesn't that mean anything? No, I said, delivering the killing blow. Sarah started crying again. You've changed. You're totally different. Yeah, I admitted. I stopped being stupid. I walked out of the classroom, leaving her there. She didn't follow me. I knew she'd given up. Tomorrow, Julian would arrive, and she'd have her new shiny object to distract her. And I could finally get to work. Julian Sterling arrived exactly as expected. When he walked into the classroom, the room went silent. He was 6'2", had a jawline that could cut glass, and wore a jacket that probably cost more than my dad's car. Even as a jaded 40-year-old in an 18-year-old body, I had to admit the guy had presence. Hey everyone, I'm Julian, he said with a polished, easygoing smile. The teacher sat him in the empty desk right in front of mine. Julian turned around to shake my hand. Hey, I'm Julian. Ethan, I said simply. He scanned a room, his eyes eventually landing on Sarah. I saw the spark of interest immediately. No matter the timeline, Sarah's looks were Julian's weakness. Hey, Julian whispered to Tyler. Who's the girl in the third row? That's Sarah Jenkins. She's the smartest girl in school, Tyler whispered back excitedly. But don't get your hopes up, man. She's got high standards. Really? Julian smirked. Now I'm definitely interested. I felt nothing. The plot was unfolding, just like before. Only this time, I was just a member of the audience. After class, Julian went straight to Sarah's desk. I'm Julian. Sarah looked up, a bit surprised. I know. The teacher just introduced you. Can we be friends? Julian held out his hand. Sarah glanced back at me. I was busy with a practice test, acting like they weren't even there. She bit her lip and shook his hand. Sarah, I've heard a lot about you. People say you're the one to beat for valedictorian. Maybe, she said, trying to act modest. I like a challenge. Back in New York, I was used to being at the top. It'll be nice to have some real competition. It was a classic rich kid move, half compliment, half boast. I watched as a faint blush crept into Sarah's cheeks. I stayed focused on my physics. Ethan, Sarah said suddenly, trying to pull me in. I looked up. Yeah. This is Julian. We met, I said. Julian looked between us, sensing the tension. You guys friends? We used to be desk mates, Sarah said quickly. She didn't mention we were exes. I expected that. Sarah was proud. She wouldn't admit to being rejected by a loser like me. Got it, Julian nodded. Ethan seems pretty intense with the studying. Yeah, he's been working really hard lately, Sarah said, her voice tinged with something complicated. I didn't join the conversation. Over the next week, Julian launched a full-scale offensive. He bought her Starbucks every morning, took her to expensive lunches, and drove her home in his BMW. It was exactly what I had done in the past life, but with a much higher budget. Back then, I was struggling to buy her a donut and a coffee. Sarah resisted at first, but Julian's charisma and his wallet won her over fast. I could see the glow returning to her face. Ethan, looks like Julian is moving in on your girl, Tyler whispered one day. We broke up weeks ago, Ty. She isn't my girl, but she clearly still has a thing for you. That's her problem. Tyler sighed. Man, you really are different. Old Ethan would have tried to pick a fight by now. Old Ethan was an idiot. I stretched my arms. I've been coding and studying for 3 hours straight. I was exhausted but satisfied. Ethan, Sarah walked up to me, holding a Frappuccino. Julian bought these for the whole class. This one's yours. I looked at the drink, but didn't take it. Thanks, but I'm good. Why? It's your favorite. I don't like sweet stuff anymore. Sarah's hand hovered there, looking awkward. But you used to love these. Taste change, I said. She stood there, her face flushing with embarrassment as people started to whisper. She slammed the drink down on my desk and stormed off. Why is Ethan being such a jerk? Yeah, Sarah was just trying to be nice. He's just jealous of Julian. I tuned it out. Julian walked over then, his expression friendly but probing. Ethan, man, why didn't you take the drink? Not a fan. Don't like sugar, I repeated. My bad. I'll remember for next time. He paused. Actually, I was wondering, what's the deal between you and Sarah? Here it was. He'd asked the same thing in the previous life. No deal, I said. We're just classmates. Really? Because I get a vibe. Like there's history there. You're overthinking it. Julian studied me, trying to see if I was bluffing. Finally, he laughed. Good. I'd hate to be the guy who gets in the middle of something. He walked away, satisfied. He had his green light. Midterm results came out shortly after. I placed 50th in the grade. For someone who used to be at the bottom of the barrel, it was a miracle. Ethan, you're skyrocketing, the principal said during an assembly. If you keep this up, you might actually make it into an Ivy. The other students looked at me like I'd grown a second head. Holy shit, Ethan. Top 50. Tyler was jumping for joy. Sarah's expression was a mess. She was still number one, but seeing my progress seemed to unsettle her. Congratulations, she said after class. Thanks. I didn't know you had it in you. Everyone has potential, I said. Most people just waste it. Sarah bit her lip. If I hadn't broken up with you, would you have started trying this hard anyway? I looked her in the eye. Sarah, don't flatter yourself. My life doesn't revolve around you. I didn't say it did. You implied it. I cut her off. I'm working hard for my own sake, not to prove anything to you. And honestly, if we were still together, I'd probably still be wasting my time trying to make you happy instead of building a future. The words stung. In my first life, I'd done everything for her, and she'd still walked away. Ethan, look, don't worry about it. You got Julian now, right? At the mention of Julian, Sarah's face turned a shade of pink. We're just friends. Sure. Well, I hope you guys are very happy. I packed my bag and walked out. I felt great. 50th was a start, but it wasn't the goal. In my first life, I didn't even get into college. This time, I was going to Stanford or MIT. I was going to change everything. Ethan, a voice called from behind me on my walk home. It was Julian, jogging to catch up. Hey, got a second? What's up? I wanted to grab dinner. My treat. To celebrate your big jump in the rankings. I really should get home and study. Come on, one meal won't kill your GPA. He was persistent. I knew he had an agenda. Fine. We went to a high-end steakhouse near the school. Julian ordered the most expensive things on the menu without looking at the prices. Eat up, man. It's on me. All right, Julian, what do you actually want to talk about? He laughed. Direct. I like that. He took a sip of his soda. It's about Sarah. What about her? You guys were more than just classmates, weren't you? I looked at him. Why do you think that? Call it intuition. The way she looks at you. It's like she's looking at someone who used to be the center of her world. Julian was sharper than I gave him credit for. If something happened between you, I want to know, Julian said seriously. I don't want to be the guy who moves in on another man's territory. He sounded noble, but I knew the truth. He just wanted to know if I was a threat. You're overthinking it, I said. Sarah and I are ancient history. There's nothing left there. Good. Julian looked visibly relieved. But, I added, I have some advice for you. Oh, don't be too nice to her. Julian blinked. What do you mean? Sarah is the type of person who doesn't value what she has once she's sure of it, I said. The more you do for her, the more she'll take you for granted. That was the lesson I'd learned the hard way. I'd given her my soul, and she'd found it boring. Really? Julian looked skeptical. Try it. Be a little cold. Blow her off once in a while. You'll find it works a lot better than being her servant. Julian nodded thoughtfully. Thanks for the tip. Don't mention it. I felt a bit of dark satisfaction. In my first life, I was miserable because I loved her too much. Now, I wanted Julian to see just how exhausting she could be. The next day, Julian actually took my advice. He didn't bring her coffee. He didn't wait for her after class. He barely even looked her way. Sarah was visibly thrown. She kept glancing at him, looking like she wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. By lunch, she couldn't take it anymore. Julian, is everything okay? Yeah, why? Julian asked, acting completely casual. You haven't really talked to me today. Oh, I've just been busy thinking about some stuff. No big deal. His tone was dismissive. Sarah bit her lip, looking genuinely hurt. I watched from the corner of my eye, feeling a strange sense of closure. This was exactly how she used to treat me. Now the tables were turned. During gym, Sarah sat alone on the bleachers, staring at Julian while he played basketball. She looked lost. What are you smiling about, Ethan? Tyler asked. Just thinking about how interesting life is. I went back to my laps. Sarah and Julian's drama wasn't my concern. I had a future to build. Julian's cold strategy worked perfectly. Within a week, Sarah had completely flipped. She was the one buying him coffee. She was the one waiting by his locker. The roles were reversed. Before, Julian was chasing her. Now, she was chasing him. Julian, are you mad at me or something? She finally asked him in the hallway. Mel, no, why would I be mad? You're just so distant lately. Am I? I think we're doing fine. Julian was playing it perfectly. Sarah was at a loss for words. She was used to being the prize, the one everyone catered to. Suddenly being treated like a regular person was driving her crazy. She walked back to her desk, looking like she was on the verge of tears. I felt zero sympathy. She'd done the same thing to me for years, making me feel like I was never enough. After class, Sarah walked up to me. Ethan, can I ask you something? Go ahead. If someone suddenly turns cold, does that mean they don't like you anymore? I looked up at her. Who are we talking about? Sarah blushed. Just hypothetically. Hypothetically. I thought for a second. It could mean they lost interest. Or it could be a test. A test. Yeah, to see if you actually care or if you're just enjoying the attention. Sarah's eyes lit up. You think Julian is testing me? I shrugged. I didn't say it was Julian. She turned even redder. I was just wondering. If you really care about the guy, my advice is to stop playing games and be direct, I said. If you like him, tell him. Don't wait for him to worship you. Sarah looked pensive. I knew she was debating it. Her pride made it hard to be the pursuer, but her fear of losing Julian was winning out. The next day, the Sarah Jenkins of old was gone. She was following Julian around, helping him with his homework, asking about his day. It was exactly what I had done for her in the previous life. Julian caught my eye and gave me a subtle thumbs up. I just went back to my book. My knowledge of Sarah was a superpower I was happy to share if it kept her away from me. Soon, Sarah had completely dropped her guard. She was obsessed with him. Julian was enjoying the ride, but he was smart enough to keep her on her toes. Ethan, you're a genius, Tyler whispered. How did you know she'd start chasing him? I just know her personality, I said. She wants what she can't have. Once she thinks she's got you, she stops trying. Teach me your ways, man. I want a girl to chase me. Step 1. Have something going for you other than just being a nice guy. Tyler deflated. I laughed and got back to work. Finals were approaching, and I couldn't slack off. On the last mock exam, I hit 30th in the grade. Ethan, your progress is legendary, the principal told me in his office. At this rate, you really might get into a top university. I'm giving it everything I've got. Good, but don't burn yourself out. The principal was genuinely proud. A student jumping from the bottom 10 to the top 30 in a single semester was a huge win for the school. Sir, what are the odds for Stanford? Stanford, he blinked. That's a reach. But if you ace the SAT and keep this momentum, it's not impossible. Stanford, that was my goal. In my first life, I didn't even go to community college. This time, I was going to the best tech school in the world. Ethan, Sarah was waiting for me outside the office. What is it? I heard you're aiming for Stanford. You heard wrong. I was just passing by the office and heard you talking to the principal. Sarah looked conflicted. You're really going for it, aren't you? Is there a problem? No, it's just, you're so different. It's like you're a stranger. We are strangers, Sarah, I said. Just like you're chasing Julian now. That's not the old you either. She turned red. I'm not chasing him. Right. And the lattes you bring him every morning are just for charity. She was silenced. I have to get back to class. I started walking. Ethan, she called out. If I hadn't broken up with you, would you still have tried for Stanford? I turned back. Sarah, for the last time, stop making my life about you. I'm doing this for me. My future has nothing to do with you. I left her standing there. I knew she was regretting it, regretting the timing of her breakup. But there are no do-overs for her. She made her choice, and now she had to live with it. The final month of senior year was a blur of caffeine and late-night study sessions. The atmosphere was tense, but I was in the zone. My final mock exam placed me in the top 20. Ethan, you look like you haven't slept in a week, Sarah said, coming over to my desk one morning. She looked genuinely worried. I'm fine, I said without looking up. Take a break. You're going to collapse. Thanks for the concern. My tone was icy. I didn't give her an inch. She bit her lip and walked away. By now, she and Julian were officially a couple. She should have been happy, but I often caught her staring out the window, looking miserable. I didn't care why. Ethan, you really don't care that they're together? Tyler asked. Why would I? I mean, after everything. Past is the past, Ty. I'm focused on the future. The final exams came and went. I felt good. I'd studied harder in these few months than in my entire previous life. On graduation day, as I walked across the stage, I felt a weight lift off my soul. The first goal was complete. Ethan, how do you think you did? Julian asked as we gathered for photos after the ceremony. Good enough. I think I nailed it, Julian said, beaming. Sarah and I are both heading to California. She got into Berkeley, and I'm going to UCLA. Congrats. Ethan, can we take a photo? Sarah asked, her voice hopeful. No thanks. I'm not a big photo guy. Julian looked awkward, but he didn't push it. I walked away, leaving them behind. Summer passed in a heartbeat. I didn't party. I didn't go to the beach. I stayed home and started learning how to code. I knew that the tech boom was coming, and I wanted to be ready. When the results came in, I had a 1580 on the SAT and straight A's. Ethan, you got in. Stanford. Tyler was screaming over the phone. Dude, you're a legend. Our school actually sent someone to Stanford. I was thrilled, but I kept it together. This was the first major victory of my new life. I had changed my destiny. Son, I'm so proud of you, my dad said, his eyes moist. He'd never seen me succeed at anything before. The school even held a small press conference for me. I was a local hero, the kid who went from the bottom to the top in 6 months. Ethan, congratulations, Sarah called me that evening. Her voice was shaky. Thanks. I'm at Berkeley. We're going to be so close to each other. Maybe we could. Let's just live our own lives, Sarah. I interrupted. I heard her start to cry on the other end. Ethan, are you really this heartless? It's not heartless. It's moving on. I hung up and blocked the number. She wouldn't stop, but I was done. In late August, I arrived at Stanford. Walking through the main quad, I felt a surge of energy. This was where it all began. Need some help with your bags, freshman? A girl asked, smiling. She was a junior, and she looked like she actually enjoyed life. I've got it, but thanks. Sure thing. If you get lost, just ask for Chloe. I checked in my dorm. My roommates were all brilliant. One was a math prodigy. Another had won a national robotics competition. I felt like a regular guy among giants, but I wasn't intimidated. I had something they didn't. 40 years of perspective. Hey, I'm Ethan, from the Midwest. Ethan, one of them looked up. Wait, are you the comeback kid from the news? The guy who jumped 100 spots in his class rank in a semester. I guess that's me. Dude, you're famous. Your story was all over the tech blogs. I shrugged. I just worked hard. It's more than that. That kind of focus is rare. I didn't want to explain my past. Some things were better kept secret. That night, I lay in bed, thinking about the last 6 months. Everything was different. I wasn't the guy who lost himself for a girl. I was a man with a plan. My phone buzzed. A new number. Ethan, it's me. Sarah. I sighed. How'd you get my new number? Probably Tyler. I'd have to have a talk with him. What is it? I'm at Berkeley. It's only an hour away. And can we just meet once? Please. No. Why? We're both in California now. Can't we at least be friends? No. Ethan, why are you doing this to me? She sobbed. Because I don't want you in my life. Good night, Sarah. I blocked her again. I knew she'd keep trying, but I wouldn't give her an inch. College was intense. I chose computer science. With my knowledge of what the future held, I excelled in my classes. The professors were impressed. Ethan, you have a real gift for this, my programming professor told me. Have you thought about entering the ACM competition? I'd love to. I joined the team, and we took silver at the Nationals. It was an incredible achievement for someone who hadn't touched a line of code a year ago. Ethan, did you code before college? My team captain asked. A little in high school. I lied. It was mostly my ability to see the logic of the future that helped me. One day, my roommate came in looking excited. Ethan, there's a girl downstairs for you. And man, she is gorgeous. My heart sank. Not again. I went down, and sure enough, it was Sarah. She was wearing a white sundress, looking like a dream. But I felt nothing. How did you find me? I asked around. Ethan, why did you block me again? Because I told you I don't want to talk to you. We could just be friends. Is that so hard? Yes, it is. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. Do you really hate me that much? I don't hate you, Sarah. I just don't care about you. There's a difference. I don't believe you. Believe what you want. Please don't come back here. I walked back inside without looking back. She stood there crying for a long time. I watched from my window, feeling a cold sense of justice. In my first life, I had cried just like that, and she hadn't cared. Now it was her turn. A month later, I ran into her again at a dining hall near Berkeley while I was visiting a friend. She was sitting with a guy. It was Julian. They looked like a perfect couple. I ignored them and got my food. Ethan. I looked up. Hey. Small world, Sarah said. Yeah. I want to introduce you. This is Julian, my boyfriend. Julian, this is Ethan, my old classmate. Julian looked nervous. He knew about our history. Hey, man. Hey, I shook his hand. I've heard a lot about you, Julian said. Sarah says you were the top of the class back home. Something like that. Well, we won't keep you, Julian said, sensing the awkwardness. Wait, Sarah said. Yeah. I asked. Seeing us together, does it really not bother you at all? Julian looked embarrassed, but Sarah was determined. I put my tray down. Why would it bother me? I hope you guys are happy. I walked away. Behind me, I heard her say, You've really changed, Ethan. Yes, I had. By sophomore year, I was ready to start my own thing. My roommate was a design genius, and I had the technical skills and the vision. Ethan, I have an idea for an app, he said one night. A social network just for college students. Something more professional than MySpace, but more personal than LinkedIn. I smiled. It was 2003. This was the perfect time. Let's do it. We'll call it Campus Link. I handled the back end. He handled the front end. Using my knowledge of future social media, I added features that were years ahead of their time. Verified student IDs, class-based group chats, and digital study guides. Ethan, these ideas are brilliant. How do you come up with this stuff? Just lucky guesses. We launched it at Stanford first. Within a week, we had 5,000 users. Should we expand? My roommate asked, breathless with excitement. Not yet. We need funding first. We entered a national startup competition. The judges were floored. This has massive potential, one said. The student market is a gold mine. We took second place, and the VCs started calling. We're from Redpoint Ventures, a man in a suit told us. We want to invest $1 million for 30% of your company. $1 million. In 2003, that was a fortune for 2 college kids. We're rich, my roommate cheered. I stayed calm. This was just the beginning. We used the money to hire a team and move into a small office in Palo Alto. By the end of the year, Campus Link was at 100 universities. Ethan, the growth is insane, our investors said. We want to do a Series B. $5 million at a $30 million valuation. I took the deal. I was 20 years old and running a multi-million-dollar company. My life was a complete 180 from my first time around. Instead of a lonely, middle-aged man in a studio apartment, I was a rising star in Silicon Valley. One night, my phone rang. It was another unknown number. Ethan, it's Sarah. I closed my eyes. Sarah, get a rest. I heard about the company. $5 million. Ethan, that's incredible. Thanks. Can we talk? Just once. No. I broke up with Julian. I felt nothing. And I want us to try again. I made a mistake, Ethan. I see that now. I should have never let you go. It's too late, Sarah. Why? You're young. You're successful. We could be so happy together. I'm not interested. I'm busy building a world, Sarah. I don't have time to look backward. I hung up and blocked her for the 10th time. By my junior year, Campus Link was the biggest thing on the internet for students. We had 5 million users. Ethan, Google wants to buy us, my roommate said, walking into my office with a document. They're offering $500 million. $500 million. In 2005. What do you think? I asked. I think we should take it. We'd never have to work again. I looked out the window. No, we're not selling. What? Why not? Because we're worth a lot more than $500 million. Give me 2 years, and we'll be worth $5 billion. Are you sure? Trust me. We turned down the offer. The news leaked, and it was a media circus. Stanford student rejects $500 million deal. I was a celebrity. People were calling me the next Steve Jobs. Ethan, you're amazing, my classmate said. I just smiled. I knew the real work was just beginning. Ethan, my advisor said one day, the university wants you to give a guest lecture on entrepreneurship. I'd be honored. The auditorium was packed. Students from all over the Bay Area came to hear me speak. Success isn't about the money, I told the crowd. It's about the vision. It's about changing how people connect. The applause was deafening. Afterward, a crowd gathered for autographs. Ethan, I looked up. It was Sarah. She looked older, more tired, but still beautiful. I came to hear your talk. Hope you enjoyed it. Can we talk? Please. Just 5 minutes. I looked at my watch. I have a meeting. Please, Ethan. I just want to apologize. I sighed and pointed to a coffee shop nearby. 5 minutes. I wanted to say I'm sorry, she said, her voice trembling. For high school, I was so arrogant. I didn't see what I had right in front of me. It's fine, Sarah. It was a long time ago. Can you forgive me? Already did. I don't hate you. Then can we? No, I said firmly. We are in different worlds now, Sarah. You think I'm not good enough for you anymore. It's not about that. It's about the fact that we don't fit. You want a safe life. I want to change the world. We just make each other miserable. She looked devastated. What about later? Later is later. Goodbye, Sarah. I walked out. I felt a massive weight lift. The final cord was cut. My past life was truly gone. Back at the office, I dived into work. Campus Link 3.0 was launching, and the features were going to change everything. I stood by the window of my penthouse office, looking at the San Francisco skyline. This was the life I was meant to have. No more regrets. No more being the liquor dog. My phone buzzed. It was my business partner. Ethan, hold on to your hat. Google is back. Yeah. They aren't trying to buy us anymore. They want to lead our next funding round. $1 billion investment at a $10 billion valuation. I smiled. Tell them we'll think about it. I had done it. I had changed my fate, and I was going to change the world. This was the life I had earned.